welcome to We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I will be your host for this evening, or this morning, or this afternoon, or whenever you're listening, because after all, it is your podcast. Now, joining me today on this board game storage furniture special, we've brought him back after last time. Because as they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But he is definitely broken. It is the Broken Meeple himself, Mr. Luke Hector. So,
where were you going with that?
I have no idea. But we're not going to edit. We're just going to keep on rolling, and we're going to see what kind of happens. So, thanks for coming back on.
I've been waiting for it, mate. It's down to you.
I know. I do apologise wholeheartedly, because I've just been stupidly busy, just doing stuff and things. But for people who aren't aware, the reason that we're doing this is because there's not enough podcasts out there about board games. Definitely not enough podcasts at all about board games. I've checked, and still a mystery. There is obviously another 2 podcasts in Scotland that do what we do. One of them is the Unlucky Frog Gaming podcast, and the other one is the First Player Marker. Guess what? We still haven't spoken to the people that are on the First Player Marker. It's beginning to get a little bit embarrassing. There's obviously people south of the border, and we've got Luke, who does his own little podcast all about board games. And the second reason that we do this is because Luke put a question on Twitter regarding weights and floor weights and tension weights to do with architects.
That's what you're going on about.
Which was basically saying how much weight would an average kind of first floor flat kind of take or something like that. And I thought, based on our last conversation, which was all about shelving and games and stuff like that, because we touched on kind of Kallax, other shelving units are available. It's 2018, but the jokes are still the same. I'm just intrigued. I was like, have you actually been weighing it up? Are you like the type of person that kind of thinks you're like calorie counting and saying like, well, if I eat this, if I eat that, if I eat this, then I've made my daily allowance? Are you kind of doing the architectural plans and checking kind of load-bearing weights and stuff like that?
No, it's just more a paranoia thing, because I don't know anything about sort of construction, but I just think that most people have their game rooms on the ground floor. Mine isn't. It's in a bedroom floor, and it's only a new build property. So I've already got like the 2 big, like the wall of games, as people can see on my videos, in the background, and more games will get added to it, or I've had big vault boxes to contain multiple games, like the entire collection of Legendary or Arkham Horror or something. Those things weigh a ton. So I was just a bit paranoid as to just how much weight can the actual floor take, because I was thinking, well, I'm starting to run out of games I want to get rid of to make way for more. So it's like, well, what if I add more on top of this? And it's like, okay, seriously, how much can I put in here? Because I've also got the Geekerson table in the middle of that room. There's a lot of weight in that room, and I'm just like, okay, is this safe?
It's like, I didn't know if you wanted to change. I might need to change the name of the podcast to the Creaking Meeple, because I can't have the creaking shelves, because that's already been taken. Creaking house.
Yeah, creaking house in general.
I just thought it was like one of these things you're building up to. You were building up to some broken house. the Hector House of Subsidence in cardboard.
As far as I can tell, it should be fine, but I had to at least check.
I just thought it was. I thought it was one of those, on Twitter nowadays where you see people going, watching Transformers the movie helped me get over my fear of squirrels thread on Twitter, and it ends up with like. It either ends up with an amazing anecdote that is entirely hilarious, or it's just a series of facts. And I didn't know where you were going with this, so I was intrigued. Because it's a good question, and I went, do you know what? He's done it, hasn't he? He's kind of been upstairs, and all he's heard is... Anyway.
It'll happen in a future video. It'll be like, you'll hear it in the background or something, and it'll be one of my intros to the video, but it won't actually be scripted. It'll be like, oh, what? Excuse me. Ah!
Just see like shelves disappearing behind you. And then you'd be like sitting there going, oh, Oh well, it's the board game collection. People asking if you're all right and everything. But how are you keeping though? You've been busy. You have been busy. You've been busy in front of a camera. This is the other thing I was like going to say. Oh well, how many videos have you done? Because last time we spoke, you were kind of like saying, "I'm going to be doing lots of videos," and I was kind of like, "Okay." And then you have just been doing lots and lots of videos, like tons of videos.
It was a case of getting it started because it was the hard part of, right, need this equipment, need this setup, need this room, as it was, because I only moved in last October. And it just took a while before I felt like, right, I'm ready to make a start. And even then, I had to sort out, right, I need to know what intro I'm doing, I need to know what format I'm doing, am I doing it for other people, monetization, that kind of thing. And it wasn't until about the summer where it's like, right, after the expo, got a bunch of games, got like review copies coming in. It was just, now's a good time to start. I'm trying to think of how many I've done, actually. If I've got playlists somewhere, season 2, 57. So 57 reviews, 7 top 10s, and that top 100 of all time or something. So yeah, we're talking around the 75 plus mark since June.
That top 100 was about 4 or 5 videos.
That was 12. Well, that was 12 videos.
It was 12 videos.
Oh yeah, because it was 10 per video plus.
You did the special on the number 1, which we can't talk about because we want people to go away and watch the videos because they're good fun.
I think most people know my number 1 anyway, but I'd love.
It's like an open secret, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so you've gone out and done. I mean, from somebody was doing podcasting content. Is there a massive difference in terms of turning out stuff? Do you have to be much more super organised? And I mean, are you scripting much more? Or are you just setting the camera up and kind of going for it?
More the latter, really. It certainly is more of a time sink. Hence, the podcast is more like a once a month thing. And even then, I need to figure out what I'm doing with it. But I think the main problem has been, one, just getting used to it, because slowly but surely I'm getting more used to the software and just doing it. And another thing is just spare time, but it's also, I think I might have gone a bit too mad on getting games in. Like, I can put a few requests in and say, oh yeah, I'd like to look at those, and then I realise, all right, I've just asked for about 5 or 6 games, and I can't physically get these played in a week. So things started overrunning, and I'm just you might have noticed the output in the last few weeks has been something like 1 every 2 days. Mainly just because I've had such a backlog to get done since like the beginning of December. Now I'm pretty much, I think, as of the end of this week, end of this weekend, up to date, and now I can sort of go, right, maybe we should just calm down a little bit.
Exactly. Goodness sake, will you slow it down? But then it's one of these things, if you do get into like a good routine, it's not entirely difficult to kind of keep ploughing about. I mean, once you get into that routine, you know what you're setting up. And do you do a lot of editing? Do you find yourself doing a lot of editing? Or the stuff that you put out, at the beginning of those, the 70 odd that you've done, you don't do things by halves, do you? In terms of like, say, the quality and stuff like that, were you still kind of finding your feet with that? Are you kind of reached a stride that you're quite comfortable? We're just like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I do a little bit of editing. Are you kind of just topping and tailing it, or are you being are you more critical now that you're confident with the software, I guess?
Critical in a sense that I try to at least avoid the blunders, but for the most part, the editing, as I've gotten used to it now, and I'm starting to experiment a bit more with like random effects that I can find on the internet or stuff like that, especially for the intros, which are kind of like a sort of 30-second joke in a sense, like the gag before the whole thing starts, and it gets more and more difficult to come up with something different every single time. But the editing's got to a point where like, okay, I'm comfortable, this is how I do it. You save what they call like assets within the software, so like you can bring them the same stuff back without having to redo it all. And scripting, I've never really done anyway, podcast or videos. I'll know the gist of what I'm talking about, but at the end of the day, how I formulate my speech is in my head. I haven't got time to script it all. I've never, it's different from someone like maybe like Grogan or whatever, and some of the others who script like crazy, and it's like that's why it's like one video every like 3 years or something. It's kind of like because I haven't time to script it.
I know. I mean, you must have been quite surprised when I sent you the links for the show notes we're going to be using tonight, with the length of questions, the appendices to the places we're going to be covering, and the topics as well. That must have come as quite a shock on how organised we were tonight. Do you not get that link?
I got the link, but I didn't think it was much different from last time.
As in, there was no show notes, there was no organisation. In fact, I think I was asking you like 5 minutes before, you still okay to do this, mate?
Yeah, it's like pretty sure because I was waiting for you.
Do you know what happened before I came upstairs? I was really ready to come upstairs, and then I did that thing where I turned around awkwardly and I spilt like half a thing of lemonade on the floor, and I was just like, oh my goodness. And it's a ceramic floor, so it wiped up, but then I goes, I'm going to be late. And then when I came upstairs, and I thought, well, I didn't be late because I ran upstairs, and then it was just in time. And I thought, well, I better check it, everything's okay. And then I tried to put Skype on, and then Skype decided, you've not got a microphone. I says, I've definitely got a microphone. I can see it in front of me. But no, Skype wasn't having it. So then I had to kind of reset that as well. In terms of your content, because you've got, I mean, are you turning into kind of like the chart show Meeple thing?
You know what, sorry?
You're doing a lot of top 10s, aren't you?
I do like top 10s though in general. I mean, probably the first videos I remember watching were the Dice Tower ones when I first started liking board games and even deciding, I want to do a blog. But the first things I remember watching were their top 10s. I think they're like their first co-op games one. I think probably the first one they ever did. And I got hooked on those videos because I love the banter. But to be honest, I think I just love top 10 lists. I love watching anything on YouTube or anything that anyone's done where they go, my top 10 X, whatever, top 10 this. And
top 10 top 10s.
It could be. I mean, I could almost get to that stage. But the thing is, top 10s are also popular with other people. I mean, I'm just looking for the analytics for the YouTube at the moment. I mean, a review is lucky enough if it gets like a few hundred views. If it gets close to 1,000, it's doing pretty well, or it's a popular game. But the top 10s are, the top 10 overrated games one is by 7 views, literally my biggest video I've done since June, and it's got 3,765, which I know is not a lot compared to a lot of people, but considering it's only been out since December the 8th, for me that's somewhat insane. And that's me ranting about 10 games, which people give me shtick for, but hey, 3,765 people wanted to see it, so go for it.
I know. And then you look at the review stuff, and they're kind of, as you say, you're lucky if you're kind of breaking 1,000. Do you feel then? Are you getting pushed towards doing more top 10s? Are you just going to kind of say, well, there's going to be 2 types of content. There's going to be the review stuff, there's going to be the opinion stuff, and then there's going to be the kind of the top 10s, top 100s, because you got to keep it different, isn't it? You're going to run out of ideas if you keep doing kind of top 10s all the time.
You'd be surprised how many top 10s you can do, but I am getting pushed towards that front. I mean, I've already got that little black book I use in every video. So it's got quite a few in there I haven't used yet, and 3 or 4 of them, I think one of them I've scheduled for this weekend. Actually, I asked people when I did my top 10 and 17, do you want me to go back the last 4 years since I started and review what I put as top 10s now that I've played a lot more games? And everybody just jumped up and said yes, Uri. So I've done that. So there's 4 more lists already, just doing 16 through to 13.
I know. And are you settled into your style of kind of like reviewing? Because as I say, you just kind of off the cuff, this is what I like, this is what, kind of don't like. It's fairly relaxed. You're very relaxed in front of the camera for somebody who's, I would say, not been doing it that long.
It's gotten easier. I mean, bear in mind, I did have a stint doing it a year, 2-3 years ago or something when I was in the old flat. I mean, they're still on the channel and they're lesser quality videos, but they're still there, as I call season 1. This is season 2.
Yeah.
It's a legacy experience, but
you got stickers for it.
you'll find like new stuff gets stuck all over the place in my flat. It's like, I mean, this new house was a box unlock. So you've now bought a new you've got a new mortgage on this 3-bed house. Unlock box 8. It has 2 Kallax shelves within it.
Oh my goodness, other shelving units are available. Look,
I couldn't resist. But no, I think I've just gotten used to it though. My confidence has built up a lot in the last 5 years plus since getting into board games, just because I'm meeting so many people. And some of that is board games, some of that is conventions, some of that is just the blog in general, some of that's just dating probably even, stuff like that. And over time it's just gotten to the point where I'm so used to meeting new people and just doing this because I'm too far in to have regrets now. I can't suddenly be like, oh, what are they thinking of me at the end of the camera? Dude, you've done how many videos now? Just get on with it.
Exactly. Exactly. You can't look at it, because I'd look at it and I'd go, my hair is really, really thinning. That's what I think. Everybody else would be looking at the content. I'd be looking at the top of my head going, there really isn't just an awful lot there anymore, is there? It's just really, you'd see me wearing like a We're Not Wizards hat in the second or third video, or try and put it, or try and edit one in just to like cover the old kind of bonds. Are you? Here's another thing. Obviously, you get the numbers in with the top 10s. Do you feel a pressure to try and get the kind of the new and exciting to the table as part of the channel? Because things like Charterstone and stuff like that, do you feel, you have to get this stuff in order to kind of keep the channel relevant? Or are you, again, is it, you kind of, if it happens, it happens. If I manage to get a copy, it's a good thing, and then I can talk about it. If I don't manage to get a copy, then kind of fair enough.
Yeah, if I don't get a copy, I'm not fussed. I mean, I couldn't get a copy of Fallout, and other people have done it, so I just think, oh well, miss it. There is a bit of pressure to try and get the new hotness reviewed reasonably quick, because the problem is, by the time you've even got a copy, about 20 other people have already had a copy for 3 weeks and played it. Because they're the big lot, they'll get the review copies literally like pre-production odd. So you can't beat them. You just have to accept that fact. But you can at least be as quick as you can with, in my case, a UK retail release. And people will still view it even later on when they've only just found out about these games. But it would be nice for me to sort of go back and look at some older stuff. And I think that's one thing the top 10s allow me to do. Mm-hmm. I can go and say, right, well, top 10, underrated games. And these underrated games could be from the entire experience. They don't have to be recent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about going into kind of doing extended big playthroughs and things like that as well? Have you thought about kind of going down that line and doing almost like a watch it played kind of scenario too?
It's on the mind. I did do rules videos in season 1, but the problem with it, I noticed, was it took a lot of effort to do those. They took a ton of editing. You had to make certain you knew the rules 100%, because as soon as anybody decided you got a rule wrong, they would hound you like crazy. So you've got to be careful. And to be fair, I just rely on Rodney Smith, most of the time. So it's great just to sort of watch him. But I do want to do something like that. I mean, I mentioned earlier I got ideas, and there's 2 in mind, which may mean I need to tone down the review content a little bit. But one is playthroughs, but I don't want it to just be playthroughs of random games. I wanted to focus on solo variants, because there are not many people out there that look at the solo modes for a lot of games. They'll say, oh yeah, this game is brilliant, but they don't look at the one-player mode in it. And those ones tend to get missed out. And it's like, oh, those would be easier to do. I can do it by myself. There's only so many extra rules, and people will watch it. And I've bought some kit that would allow me to do it. It's just trying to find the time to actually mess around with the kit and get used to it. Hence, I need to get this backlog out of the way in order to find the time. Exactly. But I forget what they're called, gimbals or something like that. They hold your mobile phone and it keeps it steady as a sort of cinematic style.
Oh yeah. It's almost like one of those funny fancy gyroscope things that you get as well. That no matter where you move, it always kind of keeps it up the same way. Yeah. I'm also not that technical. I'm just trying to guess.
But they work.
Did you get the idea when you were doing Charterstone then? Because I noticed that you spoke about Charterstone, but you were playing it from the point of view of a kind of a solo variant type of bit thing.
That was mainly because A, nobody else was doing it, and B, because people were getting the review out so quick. And the Pandemic Legacy one I've only just put out is still only a halfway review because the group I play it with can barely meet up every couple of weeks. So trying to find another group that could say, oh, guys, can I just borrow you for 12 sessions of gaming as a marathon thing is nigh on impossible. So I just thought if I can play it myself, I'll do it myself. We'll see. It's got the variant. I'll try it. And that was just more of a coincidence. I've had this idea for a good few months now. I just haven't had the time to mess around with the thing. But I mean, there's, the Vital Lacerda games have got good solo modes. There's solo games like Hostage Negotiator. Otis, the recent game Otis, has published a solo variant that not many people know of. That people have said, oh, can you do something for that? And it's like, well, give me a minute.
Because I've just added it to the list. I'm trying to cook my dinner, if you don't mind, while editing this bit of video kind of thing.
So that's one thing. And the other part was something similar. I think Suzanne from Dice Tower might have done this a while back. I'm not sure if she still does it, but because you can get away to, I've got the software I use allows me to record my screen on the PC with kind of like my own sort of webcam thing in the corner. And I could wear the headset because the headset's decent enough. As long as you're hearing me fine, it's a decent enough microphone on it without having the PC noise get in the way. But I wanted to do more sort of playthroughs of apps. Now, I have no idea how you use Twitch or anything like that, so I wasn't really considering Twitch streaming. But, you could record something for YouTube. It doesn't have to be live. I suppose you could do it live. I don't know. But, just recording it would be good enough. But if the app is on Steam, or if I can mirror mirror your iPad or Android tablet to the PC screen, I know that's possible. Then I can basically play through the app on my PC whilst recording myself going through it. So that's almost kind of like a Rado run-through thing of app games. People can see what's going on. I can basically mouth at the game or something if it beats me or whatever. So
it'll be the extreme sweary version.
Nah, I'd still try to keep it reasonably family friendly.
Reasonably. Just one F-bomb per episode or something like that. Yeah. You just have you storming off, flipping the table.
There might be some games that could drive me to that though. So if I played you ever played Brass the App or something, that I could be flipping the tablet with that one easily enough.
You were going to be flipping the table with the actual other game as well. I think that was one of the things where you just went, I don't like this game. And then everybody went, sorry, your opinion is wrong. So remember that conversation on Facebook.
People still do that, but that's just the internet. The internet is your friend at times. Occasionally,
other opinions are available. But you're interesting. I was interested in your take on Charterstone because you played the kind of the solo variant. You didn't come away from it sounding like you were entirely enamored with it.
I wasn't really. I suspect it probably would be more entertaining with multiplayer, but then some of that might just come down to the banter across the table. It's why I'm not playing Pandemic Legacy solo. I'm sure I could get through it in no time if I played it solo, and I'd probably enjoy the game. But the 3 people I play it with are big Pandemic fans ever since I showed them the other versions and the original Legacy one. So a lot of the fun is just bantering with them. But I don't know. I think I kind of just expected a little bit more from Charterstone. The unlocking didn't feel as epic as I was hoping it for. A lot of it felt quite samey, and rather than being a legacy narrative experience, it was more like build your own Euro, and the Euro that you actually got from it didn't necessarily measure up to other Euro games that I would probably rather play. So it was still interesting to do the 12 games of it, but it just didn't give me exactly what I wanted. This is why I keep saying that hype is a destroyer of games, because you it gets hyped up like crazy, and then you try to measure up to it, and it just will not happen.
Yeah, there's people that are they're saying, and obviously everybody's opinion's valid, because there are going to be games. Everybody, there are going to be games that I'm going to be like, yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from, but I kind of don't see where you're kind of coming from at all. I've yet to look at a copy of Charterstone. It'll probably be something that I will kind of pick up. The thing that puts me off is the legacy side of things. I can see me starting off a kind of a legacy game and then getting kind of 3 or 4 games in, and my fear that is if it isn't absolutely captivating, that I'm going to end up getting, the 4th game in, then having to struggle get the 5th game in, and then when it comes to like maybe the 6th game, people are just like, no, let's play something else because I've kind of got the latest new hotness, and that's the only thing that kind of concerns me a bit.
I found that
it's not, yeah.
I found that out with it, actually. I mean, by the time I got to, say, like game 9, 10, I was starting to get to the point where I'm like, okay, can we just get through this now? I've kind of unlocked everything that's interesting, and even then, when you play it solo, you don't unlock everything quite as quickly as you could in multiplayer, because the computer opponent is more concerned about getting VPs.
Yeah.
And also, the first 2 games, you mentioned that by the 3rd or the 4th game, you've got to be captivated. Well, you pretty much need to start on game 3 before you really even see anything. I kid you not, the first 2 games shouldn't even exist.
Okay.
They're so bare bones. It's like literally about like 8 spaces on the board, and it's just get one thing and churn it in for something. It's like, seriously, you could have like fast forwarded it to game 3 and started from scratch at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the hook's got it. The hook's an important thing. I think, that was the... There's games that do the hook really, really well. Mechs vs. Minions, for me, just the nature of how it played and the fact there's the little bits of secrecy and you're opening it up, and it's not a legacy game as such, but you are opening up parts that kind of increase your power. So the hook for me was there from the very, very beginning, because within the first game, you're kind of like, oh, they've already ramped up the rules about 5 different times, and at the end of every session they've got something else that you can kind of do. On the flip side of it, when I was playing Terraforming Mars, and come at me with your wrath, internet, there wasn't anything that really convinced me until it got towards the very end that lots of things were kind of clicking and getting together. And by that time, I had so many cards in front of me. I didn't feel in control of what was going on. It was feeling I was pushing things in to spit out stuff at the other side, but I wasn't in full control of my decisions, which was a strange kind of way to be.
That's alright, I can lend you some help against the internet if they go at you for that one.
I don't know. As I say, you can still like something, but you're also able to be critical of it. Is there games that you're playing for just the sheer enjoyment at the moment, that you're not thinking in the back of your mind, I could get a video out of this? I mean, I know you're still doing, you're still going to the game clubs on a regular basis. So is there anything that you're getting to the table at the moment that you're kind of absolutely loving, apart from obviously Sentinels?
It's been a while since I've got the table, actually, but I play it on the app every now and again.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, there's only so much time. And I'm also waiting for the Kickstarter final expansion to come out. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
But in general, I mean, I go to my game clubs, and if I get copies, I got to get the games played while I'm there. And that's another partial reason why I do want to maybe just cut down the level of requests I make a little bit, because it's stopping me from getting the older stuff played.
Mm-hmm.
You review something, and then you find that because you've got to get on with the next bit, you lose track of the last time you actually played that other game, even if you loved it.
Yeah.
And that's usually a bit of a shame. And like I say, I was requesting far too much. There was multiple sources, and I was kind of like going, yep, okay, bit of this, bit of that. And I think I just went a little bit overboard, hence, the output has been somewhat high the last couple of months. So with any luck, once I get past this week, I should be back on track. January is always a dry month for releases. And then I might be able to start maybe like focusing on specific games a bit more. Like, there are some reviews that I've done where I'm sort of thinking, did people really want to know about that? And you can tell from the views, that some games people weren't that fussed about.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes these things have got they've got a longer tail, because there will be people that are continually kind of picking up games. And I know the first thing that I do is if I get a game, I'll search, I'll search a couple of places to see, just to get a feel, just to see what the components are like on the board. A lot of the time to see kind of what it looks like when it's kind of set up, because, I'm as I say, I'm a bear with a very small brain, so sometimes I look at a rule book and I'm just like this. Will you just stop? And I'm more than likely to kind of look at a video, because even by somebody kind of explaining what you would normally do during the mechanics, you get a good feel to kind of how come sometimes, you know, how the game can kind of play. Is there anything at the moment that's kind of really caught your imagination that you're thinking, oh, this is really, really good fun kind of thing, or are you keeping them for the video?
What, in terms of games coming out?
Yeah.
Well, Gaia Project's due tomorrow, I think. That's scheduled. That was a decent upgrade to Terra Mystica, which is like the poster child I use whenever people are sort of like, you know, oh, you only like games with theme and all that. That's all you want. And it's like, well, yeah, I do love games with theme, but see here, Terra Mystica. You know, so,
yeah, exactly.
You know, the poster child for dryness, and it's so that one was a good one, even though it's technically Terra Mystica 1.5. It's barely even its own game in a sense. It is very much a re-implementation, but no, that was pretty solid. Top 10's out on Sunday. After that, there's not many games I've got on the pile because I've almost caught up with the backlog. I mean, I've got the new edition of Kingsburg to play and do very soon. That's been pretty good so far. I mean,
looking forward to that.
Well, I already own the original Kingsburg, so the rules are 95% identical. Right. In fact,
so it's like the patch version, then the 1.1 version of the game or something like that, is it?
It is basically a reprint. I mean, the main thing they've done, I think the rules are 100% identical, or if there is a change, it's so small I can't tell. The main thing that's different is that they combined the expansion to Forge a Realm with it. So now everything from that is in the box, which is fair enough because that expansion was mandatory when you bought the game. So, so now you've got them all. The component quality's basically been upped a bit. You know, the graphic design and artwork's changed, and you know it's divisive, but I think it's decent enough. And the only actual new bit is one module that they've added. That's it. There's one expansion module. That's the only new part. So woe betide you if you are an owner of the first edition of Kingsburg and you think this new module is the hotness, because you're going to have a tough decision to make about whether you want to fork out for a new edition just for it.
It's like getting like a new car just because it's got the cup holder in it or something like that. I can put my hot drink in that now. That's worth £18,000 of my money. Kind of thing.
Sounds a bit like my last car upgrade, actually.
My goodness!
There was only so many. There was only so many new things with it, but I mean, well, I needed anyway. I needed a newish car at that point. So, but when I sort of think about it, yeah, there was only so much stuff the new one had, but it was such good stuff.
Was the cup holder, when you pressed the button, did the cup holder come out like really, really slowly, like a really, really good CD player?
No, nothing like that. Just like sixth gear and cruise control and things like that. The original car still had my favourite feature on it, which was the start button. That's all I care about. That's all I want in a car. I hate any car that involves me turning a key. It's like, no, I want a start button. I want my spaceship. You know, like, this is Thunderbirds. You know,
what kind of criteria is that for buying a car? Do you like this one? Yep. Mercedes. Yep. It's got it's one careful owner. It's got 27 grand off it. Okay. So it got a start button.
Yeah.
No. Right.
Don't knock a start button. Every game should have one.
No, it's the car we've got. What you do is you don't even put a key near it. Well, you have to put the key near it. You keep the key in your pocket. You press the clutch in, and it's got the glorious start button, so I can see where it is. But I like being able to overwind the engine and wreck it and go nee kind of thing. So.
And that's why your car's on the way out.
Exactly. That's why my car's an absolute kind of mess. Are you? I know you're getting obviously a lot of games through suppliers and stuff like that. How does it kind of work? I'm not asking you obviously to tell your secret, but because you're producing like regular stuff, are you getting people kind of contacting you saying, do you fancy doing a video of this? Do you fancy doing a video of that? Or are you just kind of like getting a kind of a healthy, steady stream of stuff?
Lord knows, certainly not on that kind of front. It's more. It's not even suppliers really. It's more sort of retailers and distributors, and I still have to put the requests in. Occasionally they might ask for something, but mainly it's like, oh, this is your new releases. Do you want coverage on this? It's more of a gentleman's handshake kind of arrangement. Certainly, I don't have. I wish I had people like Fantasy Flight and AEG and Asmodee sort of coming round and saying, oh yeah, we're about to release this new hotness. Here's a copy for you. We don't even need to ask me. It's like, yeah, I wish, but
they come along with like the steel suitcase and they kind of sit down and go, now look, just take your time, and they kind of flip it open. It's like one of those like Pulp Fiction or something, and the gold light comes up and you go, do you want to see this? Yes I do, kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's never like that. It's never like that. It's just I put too many requests in is usually the main problem. I do get I get a few people ask me for Kickstarter ones, but I've had to make it perfectly clear to everybody that I just do not do Kickstarter previews. It's not my style.
Is that likely to change, or is that something that you're putting the Hector foot down on? Is it definitely just not going to happen?
That's a definite not going to happen. The problem with Kickstarter previews is, especially if they're paid previews, one, nobody can trust the video because you've been paid to do it, which is never a good sign.
Yes.
Some big name reviewers have already had stick for that kind of thing. The second thing is that I prefer to play a game when it's finished and published, because I want to see what it looks like for somebody to buy it off the shelf. It's difficult to put your thoughts, particularly with aesthetics, on a game when it's a print and play or a pre-production version. And the other thing is that just a lot of these like bare bone Kickstarters, I'm sorry, they just aren't very good.
That's controversial. That's the sound of
big name publishers and certain exceptions are making really good Kickstarters these days, which is fair enough. But you do get some Kickstarters which is literally like really small, it's something that is literally ripped off another game, or it's just another Cards Against Humanity rip-off or something, and it's just like, seriously, we just don't want that.
But has there not been stuff that you've seen on Kickstarter that you thought, oh, actually, that would have been quite nice just to maybe have a little copy of that? Things like your Dinosaur Island is hitting the shores now, and there's Wasteland Express delivery services kind of kicking about, and we've got Giant Killer Robots is apparently making its way from the Weta Studios in New Zealand, so you're not being tempted just in case, or is it just no, we're just going to leave it alone? Well, if Simon turned up and says, "Would you like a preview copy of Hate?"
I'd still be hesitant. That is a gimmick. It's just such a big gimmick. The thing is, a lot of these Kickstarters that are doing like massively well would probably either be big names themselves, or they just found a game that was pretty good, or they could be based anywhere in the world. Most of my people that have come to me are just going to be like Joe Blogs down the street with his first design. It's not going to be anything. And like I say, you do get exceptions. Wasteland Delivery Express is, well, it's sort of done well, but to be fair, when was the last time you saw anyone play it? Has it even been released in the UK?
Definitely not me, because I'm still waiting for it, to be honest.
So we'll see whether that takes off. I know in the US it's okay. What was it? Dinosaur Island? Yeah, that is something actually I would like to try. I've tried to get a copy. Unfortunately, it's like out of stock the second it appears. But that is high on my list of I need to try this one because it looks right up my street.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I get mine through, and after a month, if you still haven't had a copy, I'll lend you mine. There you go. Do it on record.
That'd be
I'll
awesome.
send it to you. That would be awesome. But I'm going to keep all the nice, shiny stuff that you get inside, like the wristband and maybe the dinosaurs and maybe the boards. I'll send you the box. You can have a look at you can have a look at the back of it, and you can just imagine it.
I'd be happy enough with the retail version. Too many people go mad for the Kickstarter bits, and it's like, yeah, but not everybody's got that version. There's only so much use in a review to do that.
Yeah, that's the thing is, if you're doing a Kickstarter preview, then how far do you go up? How far do you go down the kind of the stretch goal ladder, and how much information are you going to have on the stretch goals anyway? Because there could be stuff that can change the game slightly, can make a difference between it being like a 4-player game or a 5-player game. It can make the difference between you unlocking kind of minis or unlocking kind of new strategies, or give the guys enough time to maybe put in some new mechanics. So I mean, it's a difficult one for kind of like Kickstarters. I guess you run it on the base game and you see how it kind of goes, but it's kind of interesting. Yes, as an aside, I looked at Hate. I looked at the price tag, which was like $120.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous now.
Yeah.
Insert gimmick here or insert minis and you auto-fund. That is pretty much the rule of Kickstarter. I mean, I'll be surprised if Hate is actually a good game. I'll be immensely surprised. But the fact that it's got so much controversy going over it is why it will succeed as a Kickstarter. And various other ones in the past, Exploding Kittens and some of these, and Kingdom Death Monster and all that, these weird gimmicks associated with them, and they fund like hotcakes. And Nemesis is the new one at the moment. I mean, I've only looked at it briefly. It is by one of the publishers is Rebel, and I do like their stuff. And to be fair, it does look gorgeous. I'll give it that. It certainly looks pretty good. It's got a very awesome cover on it. But the first thing I notice when I go through the Kickstarter is, look at me and my giant minis, and buy me. And everybody funds it, because to be fair, I want that Queen mini, that Queen Alien mini.
Exactly. Just have it sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, but it's just like, for crying out loud, is it another game that's all about the minis? And it may well be an absolute belter and fantastic and everything, but my first inclination, if you show me a Kickstarter with a bunch of minis that funds in no time, I'm just going to assume it's the minis until somebody shows me the game.
Yeah, well, I think Hate's... I've had people saying Hate is... They're like, well, I rushed in and backed it and it funded straight away. But I went onto the comments, because Simon kind of keep the comments open, so you can have a look and you can have a scout about. And the biggest thing that people are coming up going, oh, this is 2-player. It says 4-player or even up to 6-player on the blurb, so it's only 2-player people kind of playing at the same time. And
even the picture says that. I mean, the picture I'm looking at is a board, a few minis, 2-player boards, and a few tiles in that. It looks like a 2-player from the outset, but I mean, again, I'm looking at it and all I see is some cursing, from things like the video and that, blood and guts, violence, and a bunch of minis. Hello, we haven't seen that in a million other Kickstarter games, call mini or not. But
yeah, well, artwork reminds me of the others, but the things that I've heard about the others was it was actually a really, really good game to play. So we'll like to see. I think the people say, well, there's nudity in it. It's like, okay, well, it's fine, nudity. It's nudity and plastic models and art, it's fine, get over it.
Well, didn't Conan
but I guess the thing is, it's like the 2-player stuff is, I think, is going to be the thing that is going to make people kind of decide. We'll see.
Oh, they're still going to, I mean, it's still overfunded like crazy.
Of course it will be.
But a 2-player mini game for $120, that's a lot to ask.
And it's not that, because no doubt there will be potentially expansion packs kind of coming out, which are going to be
costly as well.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you think about the last one that they done, which was the Fire and Ice, I was looking at that. I at one point I think I ended up going in at a really, really small value. I think they allowed you just to kind of keep up with the game. You were able to chuck in $1. So I thought, well, I'm going to keep a track on this and see how it goes. And within a couple of weeks, there was like add-ons kind of left, right, and centre. Now, I don't mind add-ons. I don't mind somebody saying, okay, if you want a dice bag, it's an extra $10, or if you want this, it's an extra $15. I understand that for some campaigns, it can make the difference between them funding kind of well and really, really well. I always have, and I've said this before, I always have a bit of an issue when it's like this is obviously been designed to be part of the game anyway, but we're carving it off and we're selling it to you as a bit of extra.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool, man. Not in a nutshell. I mean, Dice Tower mentioned this on some of their lists because I mean, you look down it and there's all these stretch goals and they're all Kickstarter exclusives, which is one thing I really hate. I don't mind if you put in the odd few Kickstarter exclusives if they're not like major changes, but to say, oh yeah, there's so many cool. Extra models you can get, but only if you back the Kickstarter. It's going to make the retail version rubbish in comparison. So it forces people to buy or pay loads of money for this and add-ons. I mean, I think I did back Rising Sun in the end, but I got to admit that was a rip-off because it gave you a fair amount in the box. But then the only way to justify having the best copy ever was to pay the same cost as the game to get the extra add-on minis, and that's kind of how Cool Mini or Not basically get you with all the add-on minis.
Have you had your copy through? Have they fulfilled that yet?
Nope, still waiting on Rising Sun, but I don't think they're fully finished with it yet.
All right, okay, that's fine.
I look forward to it though. Hopefully it will work. At the moment, I think I'm waiting for Empires of the Void 2, which apparently is sitting at the postal depot currently. So,
ooh, okay,
that one I can't wait.
I'm waiting for it as giant killer robots. And as I say, this did you see that campaign?
No, but I mean the name alone, I'm sure would get people interested.
It was. It certainly got the little robot geek in me kind of going, what? Giant big robots with guns fighting each other through a city, and everything's coloured and pre-painted. Okay then. How do I get involved then? But it was Weta Studios, and they did a really, really good campaign, and they've kind of kept it in a kind of a dystopian type character. So even kind of all the updates and everything like that were kind of fairly jokey and fairly fun. And yes, they had like little things you could buy, but it was like cosmetic items. It was almost like loot boxes in a game, but the stuff that you were only getting was maybe extra costumes and stuff like that. It never actually seemed to have any effect on the game. I think they had one expansion that allowed you to get like a smaller scout robot that could run about and have some extra skills, but everything else was just like upgrade to these tokens, have this dice shaker, stuff like that as well. So it was kind of cool.
That sort of stuff's fine though, because there have been some Kickstarters where they say, "Oh, this expansion is a Kickstarter exclusive," or an add-on for it, and it's like that's part of the base game. You've just carved that out to make some money, and you know it, and so do the people in itself. But a perfect Kickstarter needs a decent enough game. Doesn't all have to be about the miniatures, but if you're going to have miniatures in your Kickstarter, then don't have exclusive, oh, you can only have these miniatures if you back us or have these expensive add-ons. Do different sculpts. That would be more interesting, because then everybody who buys the retail version can still get the cool miniatures, but then whoever went on the Kickstarter has a unique sculpt, and it might just be a better one than the original or something. I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game actually did that. I've not played it, but the one that had the miniatures and stuff like that, I think it came out like start of last year or something. And that Kickstarter had that. You got the miniatures for people like April and Splinter and all the turtles in there, but if you're on the Kickstarter, you got a unique sculpt of those characters that only you had.
That's kind of cool.
So the retail people didn't feel gimped, and they weren't like cut. They didn't have half the game when they bought it. They just had a different sculpt. And you're going to get people who want the different sculpts. It will happen. So they'll still make the money.
Yeah, well, you can always stick a shop up. I mean, it's, I spoke about this quite recently, about having a tail on kind of Kickstarter, what happens after the game finishes and stuff like that. And, one of the things that I'm always amazed is the kind of once the Kickstarter kind of finishes, it can be quite tricky to actually go and pick up the stuff at the time. Which is especially if the Kickstarter's probably done really, really, really well. I mean, is it really difficult to say, well, what we'll do is we'll keep a batch of this exclusive stuff back in the shop, so even the guys 6 months down the line could probably go and pick it up, I don't know. The guys at Polyhedron Collider kind of touched on it and said, is the Kickstarter bubble potentially about to burst? I don't know. I think it'll reach a price point where people will just go, nah, I can't. I really, really can't. you try to get me for $300 here, you try to get me for $400 here, and that occasionally happens, like your Kingdom Death Monster, which people kind of went in at that level. But on all accounts, everybody that I've heard has played it has said it's absolutely fantastic experience as a game. A long one, but it's pretty, it's kind of pretty decent.
It didn't look like much on the table, I gotta say, but I'm just not going to buy into that kind of sort of money for it. And you could reach a price point where people go, okay, that's way too expensive, but you're still going to get people backing it. I mean, $120, this hate has got 5,000 backers in it. So that is 5,000 people out there who have got way too much money on the IP. So I can just shell out $120 on this one game. And I mean, I'm no better. I mean, I went a bit mad on Kickstarter last year, I'll admit, but most of that was getting either expansions or, stuff from people that I was trusting what they were going to bring out. Like, was it Cerebria or something? The new Mind Clash game.
Yes. Right? Yeah.
But that one, A, looks good. B, looks gorgeous in that. And yes, it has some miniatures. But the advantage that one has is the main reason I got that was mainly because of Minecraft games.
Yeah, exactly. Because of the good name behind them.
Well, Anachrony was like a top of 2017. I've still got it, and I'm teaching it this weekend. Actually, love that game.
Right, okay.
And I am desperate to play Tokarion. I have not played it, but I really want to.
Do you have it, or do you know somebody who can get it for you?
I think I know people with it, but the problem is every time they sort of have it on the table at a convention, I'm usually busy doing something else, and it's like, argh! I will play this game, and I'm sure I'll probably love it. Big thinky game with tons of theme, that will do me nicely. But if it's getting me that hyped to play a game that's been out for ages, then that's kind of what got me back in it. But
yeah, I'm still kind of. I mean, I've still got the games that are sitting here that I'm wanting to kind of play myself. Cry Havoc. I still want to get that to the table, and I keep. I'll think, okay, I'm gonna go and watch Rodney again. Rodney, show me how to play Cry Havoc. And he does. And then I'll G myself up to playing it, and then what will happen is that we'll play something else completely different instead. So, that's one of those things. I've still got those, like, a lot of games that I kind of want to get through. But then I'll see a games like you've reminded me of Anachrony, and then I'm like, oh, I really, really either should try and get a hold of that myself, because I've heard nothing but really, really good things about it. Or do I finish off what I've kind of got just now? It's strange. It's almost like I've got too many games, but I'm not wanting to miss out on having the other games that I want there, just in case I get a chance to play them.
Well, this is why I'm toning down the Kickstarter a bit anyway. I mean, I have bought some expensive games, but mostly a lot of that has actually come out of side income anyway, doing accountancy advice outside of my job. So that's paid for it. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't want to fork out that. But I'm looking over, I had 2 Kickstarter accounts, annoyingly. I'm trying to get it all onto one now, but I'm just looking at what I'm still waiting for. And, Oblivion, the Sentinels one, obviously, that was basically a birthday present for myself. So I got this big invoice in. I'm getting like the maximum signed pledge. I want it.
Oh my goodness! I didn't know you were a Sentinels of the Multiverse fan. Look, you've never. I think you've kept that quite a secret.
Yeah, I'm usually quite hesitant to talk about it. But what else have I got? Empires of the Void 2, hardback. But a lot of these are expansions. I've got Argent the Consortium 2nd Edition. I've got Deception, the Murder in Hong Kong expansion. I had the Flashpoint expansion, Near and Far expansion. So they're usually expansions that I tend to back because I already know I like the game. Star Realms Frontier. Sorry, I'm all right with the game, but the stuff from Hero Realms kind of made that one a little bit better, even if that one's a little bit more unbalanced. So I thought I prefer the theme for Star Realms, so I backed that one because it was including all the sort of campaign and solo stuff, and it's like, oh, perfect, fair enough. The only Cerebria, Pursuit of Happiness expansion, which I've already got, that was fine. And, well, this is kind of tainting the list, but I'm getting this on behalf of someone because they didn't have a Kickstarter account or something, but I've got Brass coming in.
That's such a... I notice how you didn't actually just say, oh, I've got Brass coming in as well. You had to kind of like go, nah, I'm going to justify not. I don't own this one, okay? This is not for me. This is for somebody else.
Well, why would
it's like go?
Well, people will be thinking like, you lies.
Exactly.
You love it really. It's like, no,
Exactly.
trust me, I hate this game. I don't care if it's one of the prettiest looking games I've seen for next year. It's still not going to wow me.
I know. Look, Hector corrupted, confirmed. You heard it here, folks. It's like you call you clickbait Hector from now on. he just wrote that thing about Brass to get some more to get nasty comments on like Facebook.
Well, to be fair,
yeah,
they'll be first attached to this podcast.
Yeah, I know, it's fine. We'll be fine. We don't get that many nasty comments. And anyway, I just ignore them and just say I'm fine. I'm quite shallow and self-centered, so within 5 minutes I'm like that. Yeah. My hair actually doesn't look too bad today, to be perfectly honest.
It's good stuff though. Got the dice towers on there as a pledge. That's obvious, but
yeah. You imagine if you didn't, you'd probably get a phone call.
Sorry, Tom. I'm just a bit.
Sorry, I've spent all my money on Rodney Smith. Just imagine how well that kind of goes. That kind of goes down. But you've moved. I mean, this is us getting back on topic. Do you like that when I do? I go into the higher voice. I'm just bringing this back in. So you've moved with a podcast. You've started doing the kind of the film reviews.
Yeah, I was trying to do something a little bit different with it because
I
was struggling to think of anything actually interesting to do with the podcast in general. I mean, I'm trying a new segment out at the moment, but even then, that's just another segment. It's kind of like, what? There's only so much you can do with a podcast when it's just yourself talking. So it gets a little bit hard to make it interesting. But it was more the case that I don't just like board games. I like most stuff out of geekdom. So, and movies is a big thing. And most of the stuff I watch on YouTube isn't actually board game related, apart from just Dice Tower and that. It's usually movie related, or sort of video game stuff. So some of my major subscriptions or whatever would be things like Channel Awesome, Angry Joe Show, Little Karibo, Team 4-Star, all these people that are dorkly, How It Should Have Ended, these ones that specialize more in reviewing movies and video games and doing sort of sketch gags with them. And I like talking about movies as well, but it's like, well, I can't really just put it on random video reviews of movies. I don't know. People probably aren't necessarily after that. So I thought, well, okay, takes me literally like 15 minutes to talk about a movie that I've just watched at the cinema. Editing it is a breeze because I don't put any fancy effects or anything like it in it. And I can just go, all right, here's my opinion on insert major movie here. And it's, I don't know, sometimes you just want to get it off your chest.
No, I mean, I'm bringing it up because I kind of liked it, the style of it, because it is literally, it's like, I've just come back from the cinema, and I'm not going to eat because I accidentally bought, I'm not going to sleep now because I accidentally bought a bag of Haribo, and I'm wired to the moon. But let me tell you very quickly about what I thought about Wonder Woman. And then you go into it, and it's just, there's not there's not like a huge analysis on it. It is very kind of off the cuff. It's kind of what you kind of thought, and it's your first impressions. And it's kind of quite honest. For anybody that's that listens to your podcast anyway, they're going to get it on the feed. But it's a nice little kind of, if you're constantly listening to podcasts about board games, it's a nice little kind of breath mint to have kind of in between the kind of the cardboard, if you know what I mean. And they're very, very short.
What an analogy!
and they're very, it's it's the first thing that came to my mind.
I've now got images of board games coming with like pre-packed polo mints.
That's it. That's exactly what it is. What's that game? There's a game that's called that.
Is there a stretch goal for one of the Kickstarters now where it's going to be like Mentos Fresh Makers are like packaged with it?
Something like that. But no, I mean, it's you're continuing to do them, so you're obviously enjoying them. I mean, it's something that's not kind of scripted, but you're quite quick in kind of like giving your opinion. You obviously fill them with spoilers, which is fine. But I mean, is that something you're going to kind of continue with? Are you going to go into other things? Are we going to get like the inked meeple? Are you going to be talking about kind of like comics that you've done, or the beeple meeple? You talk about music.
I don't read any comics, and most of my music is just random stuff I find on Spotify. So there's not really specifics there. I mean, the movies is the main thing. Even video games, I haven't got the time to play video games anymore, so I can't even do stuff like that. So it is more just a movie thing, and even then, it's mostly geeky movies or geeky related bits anyway. Because I've done. Sometimes it's a case of, is this the new hotness at the cinema? Right, or let me talk about this. Is it a controversial movie topic? All right, let me talk about this. I mean, I got so annoyed and angry over basically idiots, as I'll call them, because they pretty much are, controversial, but going on about
it's not your podcast.
True, yeah. But I just got sick and tired of them mouthing off about the whole female Doctor Who thing. Of like, oh, it can't be a female, it must be a bloke. Wow, my whole childhood's ruined. It's like, oh, give me a break. So I had to do an episode.
Such a good episode.
I had to do an episode on that because I just thought, for crying out loud, you guys aren't fans if you're getting bothered by this. I've watched every episode that I can think of from the start to finish. That's like not destroyed by now. I've got DVDs all over the shelves. I've listened to audio stuff, I've read books. For crying out loud, I may not be the biggest fan in the world, but I'm a fan, and I am not bothered by a female Doctor. In fact, I am looking forward to it. It's about time we actually had this thing.
It's a cracking thing, because it was kind of like, here's my reaction to what we think about the new Doctor Who, and it was pretty... It was kind of decent.
I
was
loving it, but then there were other ones as well. The second one I think I did was the Ghostbusters remake. The female one. And again, half of that was down to, okay, I got to find out what everyone's banging on about with this. And then also to address the whole, okay, people, will you just get over yourselves about hating on ladies being main characters? Because there was a bit of both with that one. Granted, the film's not very good, but it's not deserving of the hatred.
No, I think the thing about the Ghostbusters film is, and I've not said this on this podcast, but when you see things like Bridesmaids and you see what else like the actors have done, Melissa McCartney when she was with Sandra Bullock in The Heat, and the potty mouth that she has, and I was always wondering, is there like a kind of almost like a 15 rated Ghostbuster movie out there where you've just got Melissa McCartney just swearing left, right and centre, and and I feel maybe it was reined in. I don't know. I wonder if that kind of movie exists, if it was kind of cut by the studio to say, well, listen, we need to get the kiddies in and we need to sell the toys. Because if you remember the original Ghostbusters film, it sold toys for years because you had all the toys from there, and then you had all the cartoon series on the real Ghostbusters, which was where the big kind of toy thing set off. So I was wondering if maybe there's like deleted scenes and cut stuff that would just because they're ad-libbers. I mean, they're on like Saturday Night Live and stuff like that. So you got to wonder if there was like versions where they're just being absolutely disgusting Ghostbusters.
It's hard to say. I mean, most of these films get ruined by people up top anyway, because you can tell that the film tries to make so many homages to the original, and it just, every time it does that, it takes you out of it. And that's not the actors and actresses having a problem with this. This is the people up top just being stupid. I mean, let's face it, Fox will spoil any movie that they can. EA will spoil any video game they can. It's there's always these people that get on this one. And to be fair, everyone was always, oh yeah, but the original Ghostbusters is like the best film ever or something. It's like, well, it was fun, but for crying out loud, let's have a look at it in more detail. And it's actually pretty cheesy and somewhat
it's not
random.
Bad, but
it's not bad. It's not bad, but it's people would say like, oh, it's like absolute perfection or something, and it's like, I'd still say the remake got things like, well, for starters, the action a lot better.
Yeah, but I'd also like to present the case for the prosecution, which would be Ghostbusters 2. Which everybody that was going, you're ruining Ghostbusters, it's like, nah, Ghostbusters 2. ruin Ghostbusters, because if it wasn't for Ghostbusters 2, there probably would have been a Ghostbusters 3. Let's be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that was the thing. They somehow forgot that they were meant to hate Ghostbusters 2. just because this happened. It's like, oh, I want my Ghostbusters 3, with the original actors. What, all in their 70s? No, you don't.
And some of them have unfortunately passed away.
Yeah.
I mean, you want a real ghost kind of thing.
Oh, God. But it's
all good.
It's not just that, though. I think fanboys just sort of do that on a regular basis, though. They did the same with the Indiana Jones ones with Kingdom of Crystal Skull. And, I mean, I've seen that film. Yes, it's cheesy and the CGI is absolutely horrible. But everyone had a problem with the ending part. Well, obviously the fridge part was ridiculous, but the people had a problem with the aliens subplot in it. And personally, I actually found that all right. Because to be fair, isn't that one of the most common theories when it comes to a lot of this ancient civilization stuff? That aliens did it. Yeah. So I'm cool with it. But I laughed my head off when people were like, "Oh, this is too unrealistic. I cannot buy this aliens, it's just totally not realistic enough." And it's like, oh, so the 500-year-old Grail Knight who drinks from the Holy Grail and sits in a cave all his life is realistic, but aliens is too much for you.
Also, Harrison Ford still doing his own stunts, It's kind of, I mean, he's in it. What is he? He must have been in his 60s when he was filming that thing. So him running about and doing all the fighting he was doing, it's like, come on, Grandad, you're not going to be able to take on the Russians that way.
I know, but
settle down.
He's trying to write himself out of everything now. So.
Exactly. He's probably sick and tired of every single time he goes on a film set, he gets injured or crashes his plane.
Yeah.
To be honest.
It's like, can you kill me off in this film, please? I'm kind of dead.
Exactly, that's when he said to JJ, and JJ went, "Are you sure?" And he went, "Yeah, I'm sure." Just leave me out of Blade. He was lucky he survived Blade Runner, to be perfectly honest, but,
I know, I won't if I watch it, but...
It's very filmy, that one, but it's all good. But we've walked completely away from board games, which is kind of always fine. So going full circle, when does your YouTube series on storage solutions and furniture you like actually start? Is that next month?
No, I did consider doing storage solutions, but again, it's
oh my goodness!
No, not like shelves. No, I mean like inserts.
Oh, that'd be so funny.
But
people need to do that though, because people need to actually have a YouTube video to say, "Let's talk through your options, guys. You've got a Kallax here. This is the size of boxes. This is the size of board games that you're going to be able to put on your shelves." It's a viable video. 1 million views.
Well,
guaranteed.
I was talking about like inserts though more than anything else, like board game inserts, because I buy a lot of those. But I see videos for them, and I just think I'm not interested to watch these. So who's going to be interested to watch it if I do it? So that idea kind of just got put off. And again, the other issue is the setup I've got relies on the camera sort of being at one end of the table, me being on the other end. Yeah. Like I can't rotate it or do anything, and pointing it straight at the table doesn't leave a good picture and things like that. So the whole mobile phone with the gimbal thing is kind of like the next step. But it's like, well, who wants to look at a random insert for a board game? You can tell if it's good. You're more interested in playthroughs.
It's like a 30-second kind of video. Here we go, and here we're looking at Dead of Winter today, and here's the insert for Dead of Winter.
Well, the other...
Let's appreciate that insert for 30 seconds silence, and then say, and that was the insert for Dead of Winter. Join us next week when we cover Terra Mystica.
And next week I'll cover this chair.
Exactly. You could move it in.
It's not gonna. It wouldn't work. And the other downside though is that, like I say, I can't use my main camera to point it at the table very well. At least not for a decent picture. The problem is that if I use the stabilizer on my mobile phone, that means one of my hands has to continuously hold that thing. So if you want to try and manipulate lifting the box lid off and messing around with an insert with one hand. Good luck.
I've seen that. I did a there is a video out there that I did not too long ago about me showing how to prepare magic cards for posting. So it's out there somewhere. I might put the link out. But it's got me, you've got to wash you've got to wash the magic card, so it's got me taking like a magic card and sticking it in soap and water, and then cleaning it off, and then just putting it in an envelope, and just basically ended up destroying this magic card. But I had the same. I ended up at the end saying, and now you stick it in the oven at gas mark 3 for half an hour, and that was how it finished. But I had to film it one hand, and see, try to. At one point, I'm struggling to get this card out of the sleeve.
I know you can't do it, but you could do a playthrough with it, because there's very few games I can think of where you would need both hands to use the game reliably. You should be able to manipulate cards fine, especially with a Geekson table. You can just put them in the ridges, or just put them face up on the table, really. But pieces, they won't need two hands. So most stuff you could do, even if you're holding the camera with it, although it does need to be with a stabilizer, because as much as I love Rado as a person, the motion sickness does crop in every now and again.
I don't know if I'm coming or going. Is it sunlight? Is it nighttime yet in Malta? I have no idea. I don't feel well.
Most of the questions people will ask or something is, one, does he know the concept of a full stop? Secondly,
oh come on.
Secondly, will his hand stop shaking? And thirdly, is his wife a figment of his imagination? Because you never see her. It's like, where is this mystical wife you play games with?
No, that's what would happen if I did videos with my wife, because she's not into board games at all. It would just be, I'd have to be like an imaginary figure.
Well, I've been struggling with that anyway. I mean, I'm dating someone at the moment, like early days or whatever, but they're not a gamer themselves, but they at least but they like the idea of them, and I've already shown them one like Jaipur already or something, and it's like, oh yeah, fair enough, they got beaten down, but they're like, oh, I really like that one. What else have you got? And it's like, yes. It's that first thing you want to hear.
Dating Chip. Okay, but then what games do you take on? I mean, King Domino is a pretty obvious. I mean, do you do gateway games, or do you do something kind of that stretches the intellect a bit more? Because I guess the difference is if you put down and say, oh, let's play Love Letter. First of all, Love Letter's pretty rubbish in 2-player. You could play King Domino, but you could say, well, isn't this a bit kind of kiddie and gateway? Or then you could go for something different and say, right, Netrunner. You're running, and they go, what I'm doing, what kind of thing.
Well,
so I guess
gateway should not be misinterpreted as kiddie, though. That's the thing. I mean, I agree with you. I like Love Letter, and people. I think I put a tweet out when I was showing Jaipur, saying Jaipur is one of the first ones I pick if I'm showing someone new a game, because it's pretty straightforward, but it makes them think. And I said, well, what has other people got for ideas? And I know, I mean, gateway games are a major thing for me, because a lot of the time I'm teaching new players, I need gateway games. And even my segment on Throat Punch Lunch is starting Tile, which is devoted to talking about gateway games. So I'm more into those than I am the heavy ones. Simple, streamlined rules that are still fun, and that can be played in less than an hour. Perfect. So
Dice Forge is good. And it's pretty looking.
I'm not sure I'd call that gateway.
How's it not? Well, it's slightly complicated, but it's not. I don't know. I'd play it with the kids.
Compared to like Jaipur, No Thanks, Love Letter, Dream Home, Flamme Rouge, those sort of games, Splendor, Carcassonne, Ticket to Ride, they're the gateway games.
Yeah, I know, but I suppose you like to show you're edgy at the same time. They say, but this is quite difficult. It's Dice Forge, kind of thing. So
I work up to that. It's because if they've never seen a modern game before, then any little thing is going to be hard for them to grasp. And it's like, well, get them into the gateway stuff first, and then you sort of assess. Okay, was that too much of a struggle? Was that really easy, or was something? And then you can sort of go, right, well, from that point, how about this? And
do you have you got lists already made just to say with like little kind of outcomes and points?
No, this is just what I get from experience.
Have you written a macro just to kind of check which way I'm supposed to go? I didn't like Jaipur. Oh, Jaipur was good actually, but maybe we could do viticulture. Viticulture actually might be quite good.
I wouldn't call that gateway, but not at all. Especially as I play it with Tuscany and all the bits. But
But you could stream it down and just have viticulture.
But then it wouldn't be.
You could have a nice little glass of wine at the same time.
But then it wouldn't be as fun.
Oh, for goodness sake!
It's viticulture. You got to have Tuscany with it. But no, I mean, yeah. So it's not that listed. It's just something I observe and I've taught a lot of people. I mean, I do like the charity events for Dice Portsmouth and a few of those. And for those, you're teaching people who have never seen games before, and you just pick up on these points. You know, some people are always adamant like, oh yeah, I can teach this. I can teach so and so this hard game, and they got it fine on the first time. And it's like, I'm probably willing to bet there's some background reason why they grasped it better, whether it's because they're into other geeky topics, or they're geniuses themselves, or they're into geekdom in general or something. Yeah, there's gonna be another reason. But I mean, if you're gonna compare someone like that to, say, my parents, trying to get them to learn any game is a nightmare in itself. But I've managed to succeed with, stuff like Dixit and Sushi Go, Dream Home recently, Ticket to Ride. My dad loves that one. So you've got to start with something simple. And I know some people get on the case and think, was like, oh, do you underestimate your opponent's intelligence? And it's like, well, yeah, you kind of need to, really. It's like, at least to begin with.
And that was dating tips with Luke Hector.
That's got nothing to do with dating. That's just general gaming.
Just general. Oh dear. I know, but what would you do? I mean, that'd be the worst thing, wasn't it? If you're out dating and you just say, I play board games. And like, what? Then what? Like Monopoly?
Oh god, that drives me so much. I even had to put
swipe.
I even had to put that on my profile to say, do not mention the word Monopoly. Because I was getting sick and tired of people using that as an entry line. It's like,
oh, for goodness. But that's somebody that's actually trying.
Yeah, but they're not trying hard enough. It's like, call me picky, but I'm like...
Oh dear, you want this prime specimen?
So do your research if you're going to...
Do some research. You're not just going to turn my head with a mention of, like,
one of the worst games. Yeah, it's like...
No, I played Monopoly Gamer recently, and I was pleasantly surprised about how non-awful it was. So it's fine. It's all good.
I hear it's actually one of the best ways to win it is just to buy houses and not hotels, which is kind of cheesy, but
yeah, it's fine. It's good. It's a kind of like a good old game. So, what can we expect from you in the immediate future?
In terms of the channel and that, well, like I say, I'm definitely gonna start.
Well, I'm not asking if you're taking me out for dinner or something like that.
All the way up to Scotland with your appetite. Yeah, that would be an expensive date.
That's not nice. I'm just carrying a little bit of holiday weight. All right, we can't all be the Captain Jim Bunny that you are. Oh, I'm out for a run today. Just did 52 miles.
It's got nothing to do with weight. I've got an aunt and uncle who are like Scottish themselves, and they can eat me out of house and home. It's like...
That's nice. It's nice to yep. Okay, make me feel insecure. I'm gonna have to go.
Nothing to do with weight.
Fasting tomorrow. Nothing at all. At all. But what's the plan for the channel?
The channel thing. But like I said,
the channel thing. Not the more insults thing.
Come on, I'd take it worse. But the
swipe left. That's your problem.
Left.
left.
The channel itself is, like I said, I want to look into the playthrough things, and maybe at some point in the future I will find some time with this, with January and February being quiet for releases. I can sort of go, right, I'm going to play around with this, I'll get some test footage done or something of maybe like playing through an app on my PC and doing a solo walkthrough or something. And they won't be full published videos, but I'll try and get some test footage up just to say, look, this is what it looks like on the first attempt. Does it look good? What's the improvements you think I can make? And then I can sort of stream, improve it and then get like proper stuff on. And it would be nice to do something like that. Certainly you're going to get more top 10s. Maybe you'll get less reviews as a result, so that I'll stop asking for every single game that comes out. I mean, I'll still play as many games as I can, but there are other people I know who buy games as well, so I can still do top 10s of the year and play a ton of new releases anyway, but I don't need to ask for every single one myself.
Absolutely. No, exactly. Exactly, because, and then you don't have to be asking questions on Twitter about whether or not your house is going to hold up if you get any more cardboard in.
True, yeah, I can sort of keep it down.
Which is still brilliant. Where can we find you on the interweb nets, Mr. Hector?
Pretty much just search for the Broken Meeple and you'll find it. search for it on Twitter, you'll find it. You'll see the logo. Search it on Facebook, you'll find the page. Twitter at the Broken Meeple, you'll find it. In terms of the blog itself, the address is brokenmeeple.blogspot.co.uk. Again, pretty much if you just Google search the Broken Meeple, you will probably find it all.
That's all good. No, what we'll do is we'll put
other search engines are available.
No other. Yeah, don't use Bing. What did I see? I saw an old cartoon, and it still made me laugh. And it was Firefox, Chrome, and I think it was Internet Explorer, and it had like Firefox and Chrome and going, what do we want? And then it was like the next page, it's like faster browsing, and then the third thing is it's like they're going, when do we want it? And then the next one it's like going now, and then you've got Internet Explorer going, what do we want? So
yeah, it's just like slowness. I think I might have seen that actually.
Yeah, probably.
That sounds familiar.
Probably. It's going to get cut because that was rubbish. If you want, but check out Luke's stuff because it's good. His videos are excellent. His podcast is really, really good because I couldn't sit there for the time that you sit there and just talk into a mic because I would probably not do it. I just, hats off to you for continuing to produce the content that you do, especially the podcast. And the film stuff is really good fun. It's very, very quick. It doesn't overstay its welcome. As I say, it's a good laugh. As I say, we will take all the notes as usual and we'll stick them in the show notes so that we've got notes to show. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, head over to... You can find us on Twitter, which is We're Not Wizards. You can find us on Facebook, which is We're Not Wizards. You can find us on Instagram, which is We're Not Wizards, which we are starting to post some more content on there. We have a YouTube channel, but we didn't have any videos. But Podbean, that's our podcast host, they automatically put all of our podcasts onto YouTube automatically, which is very, very nice of them. If you want to find that directly, because we knew there are some people that like to listen through YouTube as well for some reason, you can find it on youtube.com/c/We're Not Wizards Tabletop Podcast. You can find us through the usual kind of podcast catchers, your Stitchers, your Spreakers, your Acasts and Podknives and all these different wonderful kind of places. Obviously, if you like us, then feel free to drop over to Apple Podcasts and drop us a subscription. If you like us even more, go and give us a little rating, or even drop us a review, because that really, really helps with us being visible in the charts. As we say always, if you are going to give us a rating, don't give us a 10, because that will make us big-headed. But don't give us a 1, because that'll make us cry. Give us a 5, because it's in the middle, and it's average. And we're decidedly average. But the person who's not been average today is the rather fantastic, the rather wonderful Mr. Luke Hector. So thank you very, very much, good sir, for coming on.
No worries, cheers in. We'll do this again, don't worry.
We'll not leave it too long next time.
A whole year.
Yes, I didn't realise it'd been a whole year. I was like that. It's not been that long since I had Luke on. I was like, looked and went, oh, this is going to be embarrassing. He's going to bring it up. We have got, just trying to think, we've got lots of guests coming up. The wonderful, fantastic Bez, she's going to be making, I think, her 3rd appearance on the show. So she's going to be along to chat about Kitty Cataclysm. That's going to be coming up over the next couple of weeks. Katie from Katie's Game Corner is coming back on. John D. Clare, we're speaking to him about coming back on to have a chat with us too. So lots of content. So keep an eye out, or keep an ear out, and if you think somebody else would like the show, then tell them. Because that's how we pick up more people, is by word of mouth. So we appreciate everybody who listens. So thank you for everybody who's downloaded so far. There are only a couple more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Luke?
I don't know about you, but
Don't you even? I can't. It could be another year before you come back on again. Don't think I can't fix that.
It's treated exactly like Harry Potter. It's like a year has passed.
That's how it is, and it's your birthday. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So, as I say, it's a goodbye from the rather wonderful, the rather fantastic, the rather wondering if he's going to get crushed in the middle of the night by cardboard, Mr. Luke Hector.
Cheers, guys.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll sixes. Come back for next time. As I say, much more guests coming on. But, jump over and check out this guy's content, because the stuff he's putting out is really, really good. And it's only a click away. But until the next time, goodbye.